Too many human beings have been tricked thinking that they are crazy. Too many human beings have been tricked thinking that they are insane. Too many human beings have been tricked thinking that they don't know what they're doing. Too many. Too many. And this nasty habit that's been going on for so long in all cultures. And the reason it stays alive is because billions support it. Countless millions support it. You could say a form of big brother, big government. But to reclaim your heart, to reclaim your mind, you have to stand alone in this world. And very obviously, but you could say quite invisible, no matter how many friends, no matter how many children, no matter how many homes you have, no matter how many lovers, no matter how many strands of hair you have, no matter how many feet, the reality is you're born alone and we all leave alone. There's a reality to that. It has nothing to do with loneliness. It is really being alone. And pay very close attention to this. For those who are not healthy in your mind, have an illness in your mind, it is this you have to pay attention to more than ever. And it's a long valley to walk, but you walk it out one step at a time. And those with healthy minds, you have to walk it too. There is just more light in front of you. It is this that is actually nothing but a unique medicine that is hidden to most people. No wonder they call them mystics. But it is you that must reclaim the night. For the human being is a mystic itself. And not just the one in the desert, or the monk, or the one on top of a mountain. And the paradox of it all, life is. It's already been done. You've already been born. It's been done. Nowhere to go. It's been done. Buy a round-trip ticket, an indefinite round-trip ticket, and spend the next 30 years flying from country to country, day to day, from land to land, town to town, village to village, city to city, nation to nation, continent to continent. And after 30 years, when you finally realize this earth is really round, it is really, really round. But you have not really gone anywhere. It is really the same land, the same atmosphere, and really the same people, the same wants and desires and feelings, the same problems. But when the astronaut finally wakes up and steps away from the Berlin Wall, I have not traveled anywhere really. A planet that is traveling 486,000 miles an hour through space. Where are you going, little one? Where? It is your right, and you must ask the question, who has their gas on the gas pedal that is propelling this planet 486,000 miles per hour, and in what direction, and where are you going? That is your right. Then when the human being understands that to know this and to see, then you finally come to a question that says, I have seen all that I can see with these two little eyes of mine. I have traveled from land to land. I have traveled from scene to scene. I have traveled from hurt to joy. I have traveled from disappointment to laughter. I have traveled from face to face. I have traveled from store to store. I have traveled from one flat to another. I have seen the sunsets and the sunrises. I have watched the snow fall. I have watched the rivers run. I have watched the storms leave. I have watched babies being born. I have watched me being lost. I have covered myself at night. I have pretended and I have lied. I have run into walls. I have seen movies. I have tripped over stones. I have sat down in seats. I've had flies chasing me. I have watched the clouds above. I have seen what I can see. And now I can honestly say to whatever it is that has created my heart, teach me to see through your eyes. Call it life, call it God, call it above, call it the Spirit. But teach me to see through your eyes into the deep space, into the unknown, into a closed book, into underneath the covers. Be patient, give it time, and one day life will show you what it's like to see through life's eyes. Hey, new nite ha peace to your minds, peace to your hearts, peace, peace. Is peace the end of war? Is peace when we stop arguing? Is peace when I finally have an answer? Those belong to the earth. They are earthbound. But do not forget what is inside you, for peace is wisdom, peace is understanding. For as the space above is still and silent, so is what is inside you. If it's a train going by, a gun going off, a bomb, or is it music coming through loudspeakers, or is it a high-pitched voice of a child? They are only earthbound. Know what is earthbound, but know what is also of above. Your brains are not at your feet. They stand as high as they can stand. For the effort to put your brains above and not in your stomach, there's a reason behind it. For you put the effort to stand as high as you can and to think as high as you can, to see as high as you possibly can. Not just a person's ignorance, not just a person's fault, but also of their intelligence and their goodness too. Jump when you can, and climb trees also when you can. Climb mountains when you can, and see pictures from above when you can. Higher thought when you can, elevated thought when you can, a higher perspective when you can, a cloud view when you can, a satellite view when you can. For one day you will have to pass away and you will turn in and see what you are, nothing but stick and wood, lit afire by the match of death. And you will also go into smoke and rise high and high, higher and higher. And you will be forced to see from above. But you have the eyes to see while you still walk, while you are still earthbound, if you wish. But teach me to see through your eyes and understand what you can only see and nothing more. There's a very good reason why we have tomorrows. There's a very good reason why we do not know what is going to happen in our tomorrows. There's a very good reason why we call it future. There's a good reason why we have walls. There's a very good reason why we have sunrises. There's a very good reason why we have sunsets. The simplicities of life are so simple, they're complex. Unsimplify your life, and the round blocks and the square blocks will find themselves very carefully, finding the round holes and the square holes with no effort whatsoever. And you'll find yourself found. Life already is. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's finished. It's done. Be kind to your eyes. Be very kind to your eyes. Be kind to your eyes. Little balls of water, so simple and yet complex. Be kind to your eyes, little balls of water that loves light, that loves darkness. Be kind to your eyes, little balls of light. It's taught me to read books. It's taught me to drive cars. It's given me a path to walk. Be kind to your eyes. Peace to your minds. Peace to your hearts. Peace. Peace. most of what people suffer from. Most what torments one's mind, and most what confuses most people, for the most part, is really not your own. Most of your madness is not your own. Most of your disturbances are really not your own. They're humanities. They're humanities. And most people are so confused, thinking that all their madness and all their confusion, all their disturbances, they think it's their own, and it's not. For sometimes, and usually it's only something like 25%, maybe your own, sometimes only 10. Most of it is humanities, not just passed on by your DNA and then perplexed by the proteins that really are the masters of DNA, but the storybooks that go with it from your grandparents and their grandparents and then grandparents on, and all their scars. That is why it's so important to step away from the Berlin Wall. And that astronaut's perspective, you begin to see it's humanities, why you are basically, and why most of the disturbances that have plagued you so much, they're humanities basically. Microscopes are wonderful and necessary. Telescopes are wonderful and necessary. But know the difference between the two, students of life. For so many and too many are lost in the microscopes of life, caught in a petri dish, caught in a slide. For a very funny thing, how many countless millions of years it took humanity to discover a very simple glass made out of silica, and with gaps and with the distance between two pieces of glass, you have a telescope or a microscope. But it takes the gap for it to work. And that gap in the millions of years it took, just because you exist in the year 2001, don't think you know what a telescope really is. For the telescope really lies within your mind. It lies within the very nature of your own heart, as well as the microscope. You can see me as close as you want to see, and you can put me far, far away from you as you want with your telescopic eye, and give it the reason of hurt or hatred, or give it the reason of a comment. tomorrow. Tomorrow. Good night. Do not go away. Hold your attention. Hold it. Hold your attention. Hold it. Do you remember? Hold your attention. Hold it. Keep your eyes open. Do you remember? steady, steady. Steady. Do you remember? Steady. 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 Do you remember? Steady. Steady. Keep your eyes open. Steady. Do you remember? Steady. Steady. Do you remember? Do you remember? Steady, steady, steady. 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 Don't look around the room. Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? This is the profoundness of your conscience. The witness, this is the profoundness of your conscience. Strong presence, observing you very closely, very quietly, and yet very, very loud. And when the witness shows itself, this is what it feels like, being watched, observed, but not just from in front, but from behind, from underneath, from above, from your left and from your right. That's what the witness feels like. And you sense how personal it is to be steady, listen very quietly, very softly. Do you remember? And the voice of conscience was that loud at one time when we were all so young. Do you remember? Yet because at such a very early start of our existence in the womb of our mother, the conscience, our friend, our playmate, our confidant, so ordinary, nothing unusual, just a matter of fact, just as ordinary as having your right arm next to you. And it really wasn't until around the age of 7, and for some 5, and for some 3, when we all had to start school, and to hear a different voice of logic and reason, to learn to count sticks and stones, to learn to build tall skyscrapers and roads, learn to publish books and read, and to get along. I became a passenger and no longer a friend next to you, but somehow a distant stranger that appears every now and then when extreme guilt shows up or shame. And then the human being becomes more confused in their life. And it's not just because of profit or gain, but of want and of desire and of logic and of wonderful, wonderful reasons. The argument begins. The conflict starts within. The war begins within. And the gap between the back seat and the front seat becomes profound. And yet the logic and reason is so, so beautiful and so necessary to learn. And that is the beauty of the Western world, to bring this into this world. That one does not hallucinate with your French francs, that one's become very practical and of common sense, that one respects the trees and just don't tear them all down like they do in so many other lands, even in America. For every tree counts here. Good logic, good common sense, good reason. But yet one has to ask, what year do you exist? What year are you walking on this land? And we call it the year 2001. In other cultures, it's over 5,042, something like that. And for some, it's even the year 10,000 in some. But I say to you, there's too many zeros to really know what year this really is. And when we reach a certain particular age, and we find we become professional and efficient with logic and reason, and we learn to do well. We have built our families, our cities. We have built many side roads through mountains and valleys. We have built ships and airplanes. We can wear all kinds of wonderful colors. Plenty of water to take showers. Plenty of water to drink. But yet sometimes one starts to feel an emptiness inside, a gap, you can say. And whether that gap is in the emotional body or the mental body or maybe even all two. Or maybe there's something with the disturbance of the feelings, or somehow the logic doesn't seem to be logical anymore. And then the search begins to the driver of your life. Call it your car, call it your body, call it your skin, call it your mind, call it your dream. Yet you are the driver of your car. And yet one finds logic and reason is so wonderful and practical for banks and businesses, and even for homes and backyards and gardens. And logic and reason can even be applied to outer space and spaceships and spacemen. But somehow along the line, the dance of life, there's too many gaps in it. And then one searches for a friend to fill that gap. One searches for the book, or one searches for the bottle. Or one relies on rage, or one relies on just being a little insane to fill the gap. The complexities of the search become very complex then, with all the variables and all the subject matters to think about. Then one starts to look for unique formulas, for logic and reason has unique formulas that somehow work so we can pay our bills, run gas into our flats, and run water, and have garbage picked up. And yet somehow, even though there's money in the bank, there's petrol in your car, just got a haircut, and bought some wonderful clothes, somehow there's still something missing. And yet our habit is to look ahead, and it's good to look ahead. And yet our habit is to follow the road signs and keep going, and it is good. But so many people, they don't know how to turn around and look behind them. Rely on too many memories. Rely on too many stories. And sometimes either there's too much pain or hurt behind to want to look. We have all come from some place and some time. And history just does not belong in a book. Archaeology just does not belong in the land. I wonder really what's behind me, what I came in with, what backs me up. Your conscious mind in the back seat. What would it be like to put it back in the front seat next to you and to have it be so loud? To have your friend back, your confidant back, your counselor back. What would it be like? The logic and reason has played with our heads, and somehow we misinterpret the purpose of logic and reason, and misused it and misunderstood it, and abused it in many, many ways. Human beings are not numbers, and some cultures have tried to make it so just 60 years ago. Human beings are not machines. Many human beings think people still are. Many people think human beings are just strangers, and many people still think they are. And when logic and reason has captivated all your senses, then it becomes a matter of loss and gain, minus and pluses, more for me and less for you. I got one more present than you. And to call this conscious mind to your seat next to you. What does a human being have to do? You can pray all you want. Total ineffectiveness. An invitation, a very serious invitation. But what are you going to do with your minus and pluses? What are you going to do with your hurt and your revenge? What are you going to do with your disappointments? What happens to the enemies? And some people say it's an act of mercy, or it's an act of compassion, or it's a thumbs up instead of a thumbs down. Just, you could say, a spontaneous act that somehow appeared once in a century in your life. That is the depth, and shows the depth and the strength of the companion of reason and logic that sits next to you in the front seat. Do you remember? Not just a little child's mind playing with dolls or playing with little plastic soldiers. At a very ordinary, conscious mind that all creatures come in with. Do you remember? And that's why we've been working all these years and learning a certain way all these years. Not just to understand ourselves, but to be easier on ourselves, more friendly, more forgiving with ourselves and others. And very naturally, very quietly, very gently, the gap closes between the back seat and the front seat. And the war starts to slow down between the dance of life and reason and logic. Behind you. And when I hear your conscience speaking, and yet the words of your mouth speaking another language and going into another direction, to really hear, it's the oldest faculty we have. It's not the eyes, it's the hearing. It is the most ancient of all. It is the hearing that really takes us through the door between the matter and the spirit. The one has to follow the sounds and surf the sounds like surfers until the surfer finds no more water, no more sound. Logic and reason cannot follow, cannot take you anymore. That's when the trust comes in. Life is alive. And life is very intelligent. But our back. Have you noticed how difficult it is to scratch your own back? Very, 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 very difficult. And you know what a strange phenomenon is? And this is one of the most strangest phenomenons ever to cross a human path. Have you ever noticed that when you scratch yourself or scratch your back, it is not the same thing when somebody else scratches you? It is very, very dead and boring when you scratch yourself. But when somebody else scratches you, how come it comes alive? I wonder about that. What is that? When your conscience is sitting next to you in the front seat, its place is. But a conscience is very much like feelings. The most volatile, the most wonderful thing any human being can have are feelings. And yet we have learned to contain them and control them when it's appropriate and when we should. And when to release them when it's appropriate, because it's good. But like when another person scratches your back, what a thrill, what a wonderful, wonderful feeling it is. And that is what it's like when your conscience is sitting next to you. An external friend, rubbing your brain, rubbing your feelings, scratching your brain. Over there, no, back, right, back, right there. Yeah, you got it. Your conscience, people. That's what it feels like. That's how wonderful it is. But when logic and reason has become the God of the inner mind, and in the very early stages, when conscience starts to show up, it will appear like an enemy. It will appear like the evil. It will appear like it's no good for you because it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's going to take you off your sofa, off your lounge chair. And then the walk, and then the journey begins if you get up. Do you remember? Nikita, ha. Peace to your minds. Peace. peace to your hearts. Peace. Peace. Silence itself will not make you sane. Silence itself is not complete. Silence in itself is standing on one leg. I wonder how much time we have spent with our eyes open. I wonder how many steps we have made. I wonder how many pictures we have taken with our eyes. I wonder how deep into the earth my heart is. I wonder how much my hurt weighs. I wonder how many tears I hold back. I wonder how many dreams that I've been so confused. I wonder how many wishes have not been fulfilled. I wonder what revenge is not complete. And what can silence do with all this? When there's so much hurt and disappointment. Be wise with your life. And use your skin and your blood what it is designed for. Silence can only take you so far. But your lips can take you further. But your hands can take you much further. And your legs can take you much further. Even your thoughts can only go so far. Being a good guest, a good human. set up the video, not the movie. We're going to do York's video. A break. All right, a break. Let's see. Reiner, is it possible to move back the screen? Okay, so what we can do, we're gonna show it 3-4 times because it's so short, and it's important that you see what's going on. So what we'll do for the people here in the front, we'll move back the screen. Maybe not now. Let's leave this up here so the people in the back can have a better view. And then, no, not yet. And then, because of the people in the back, it's be a better view for them. And then we'll show it twice. And then we're going to move back the screen for the people here so you can get a better view. Okay? Investments. You have an investment in this. You have an investment in this. And the investment has matured and grown up a lot. And again, there's only maybe 3-4 new people here. The rest have been coming for years and years and years. So the investment for any human being, in the way our Western society is, to get the attention of any human being, it's very, very, very difficult. It's a very complex, how would you say it, in the advertising field. It's a very complex, not a situation. How come I can't get these words when I want to speak this? Give me a sign in the sky. Give me a word in the sky, or yeah. Or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. You know. So and for anybody to take one day off out of their normal life is a lot. To go do something else, it's a lot. We are all we all know this. We are all very busy with our own lives. And we're very, very fortunate if we have a day off or a weekend off. And the Europeans are much healthier with this than a lot of people in this world. They really respect the holidays. It's important to have time off. Very important. And so what you do in your time and listening to how the Europeans do their time off is quite remarkable. I mean, there's a very big difference to how Americans do it. And it's basically because you grew up like this and your parents had more time off. But still, even though you have, 30 days, 40 days, holidays, and the Americans only have 2 weeks, usually a week, 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks. It all depends on where you are in Germany. Southern Germany, Northern Germany, and Switzerland. I guess it's all different, huh? So who gets the most time? Who's the nicest? Huh? The Italians? The French? Oh, shoot. So, but still, to get one day out of your life, to come to any workshop, any lecture, whatever, it's valuable time out of your life. And watching you put in this investment, coming here all these years. What has been very difficult to explain and teach the fire dance is there's a phenomenon of time. And it's how the brain, mind observes the external environment. And again, here's the phenomenon. Back in the 18th century, the early 18th century, when the steam engine, the steam train, was starting to cross America from east to west and west to east, in the old cowboy days, the cowboys and the old pioneers, a lot of them would step in front of the train walking, thinking that they were okay, and a lot of people got killed. They were run over by a very slow train, very slow train. And the reason so many people were getting hit by these trains is, and they finally realized it, is because of the time sequence of how a human being is raised in a particular civilization, and they get used to, back then, either you ride a horse, or you walk, or you run. And as any particular child grows up, there's this element of time of when you're going to reach a certain point, depending on how you walk, run, or horse. And they get used to this. But the iron horse, the train, there was no references to. It was brand new to the mind, to the brain. So when the iron horse was starting to go over, there was no references to time, and they thought they understood it, and therefore a lot of people got hit and killed. It was like, God, they walked in front of the train. So it's a phenomenon of time and space and reference points, getting used to it, as it is with the fire dance. The fire dance, as you know, it's a very, very, very extremely soft dance. The fire dance is a very quiet dance. It better be. The element of fire itself, think about this. We have become masters of the earth. We play with the earth like clay and mud, and we build skyscrapers and buildings and houses and storehouses and warehouses and bridges and spaceships and planes and videos and TVs and all sorts. And we are also masters of the water. We have speedboats, and we have cruise liners, and we have little rowboats, and we have kayaks, and we can swim, and we go down to the bottom of the ocean, and we can breathe with the fishes as long as we have oxygen in our tank. And human beings think they have mastered the fire, and they have not. Let's say we have some understanding of how to channel the fuel and how to ignite it. But how the human being, when they see a forest fire, what it can do and what it does. And we have not mastered the winds. And when the winds come to flame the fuel of the forest fire, we see what will happen. Terror and fear can arise so quickly and so easily to get trapped in the flames. And we all have heard so many times about the campfires and what a campfire has done for millions of years to human beings on this planet. To sit around a very tender, quiet little campfire, and the stars above, pretty warm out, listen to the stories, listening to the crackle of the wood, the fire speaking its language. And to see the reflection off the faces of the person in front of you. And the most beautiful thing, reaching down for another piece of wood to keep that small campfire alive and going. And we all have seen what a big forest fire can do. And yet we all have this particular same fire in our own self, in our eyes. We have seen when a human being is raging with hatred and anger, how they can easily kill and hurt others. And it's a forest fire in those eyes. It is a forest fire in those eyes. And it's just not the cheeks and the tone of the skin changing. And it's just not the skin being taut, tight with rage, lines that are telling stories. But we have also seen what it is to have a warm heart versus a cold heart. And when the heart is warm, we know, we can see life in the eyes. It's a little campfire. And yet the fire is fire, as it is with the sun, as it is with the forest fire, as it is with a campfire. But what a warm heart can do, and how the effects can change, and not just you, but change our environment. The little campfire in each eye that we have. And it is our choice. It is literally, people, our decision, our choice to put logs, trees, and trees onto that little campfire and go into a rage. Or to make a decision what belongs in a little campfire are just small sticks. Just a few, all that is necessary. And somehow the magic of a campfire sitting around, no one can explain it, but we all know of it. The warmth we cannot sell in a grocery store, but somehow we can find it expressed in a poem, in a music, in a guitar, piano keys. And sometimes we find our cheeks expressing it. We all know what cold hands feel like. And we all know what warm hands feel like. Very simple, either to turn down the temperature or turn it up with our feelings, or to put out the fire itself in our eyes. And then logic and reason takes its place, takes its seat. Then life is nothing but a sequence of events. Then life is just nothing but just getting up and doing your day and going back to bed, and getting up and doing your day and going back to bed. And sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where there is a friend, a breakup of a friendship, or a marriage, or a business. And because there's too much let's say disappointment, how so many people start to put water onto the fire, those little campfires in your eyes. And we can do this with revenge. It is because actually the human being inside, all human beings, even children, know very, very, very well that we have the power to hurt others by turning the light off in our eyes. And inside we're saying, I'm going to show you, I am going to show you, I am going to make you pay. And we could douse that fire out with alcohol, drugs, slowly, slowly going away. It takes an awful lot of courage. Because remember this, there was no contract. There was no contract. Unless you have one, you bring it to me. That when you were born, that you would never be disappointed or hurt. That people will never walk away from you. That you would have a washer and a clothes dryer, an iron, and plenty of food. Where is that contract? If you have no contract, then you know what the tomorrows are for. You've forgotten what the tomorrows are for. For that is what keeps the adventure in the human being walking. That's what keeps the adventure in the human being moving. And just know disappointments are going to happen. But don't put out your fire. Don't start a forest fire. It's not worth it. Keep the fire soft, quiet. And how kind and revealing. How wonderful, so quietly a campfire can be. Be steady, 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 steady. And with all your might and all your strength and with courage, you do not put logs onto the fire, regardless of what happens. You do it for yourself. And if you cannot do it for yourself, you do it for your children. If you cannot do it for your children, you do it for your friend. If you cannot do it for your friend, do it for your garden. Keep the campfire going steady. And if you cannot do it for your garden, do it for your goldfish, or do it for your dog or your cat, to keep the campfires going. No matter what happens. I have started so many forest fires in my life. The destruction is, and we all have. I have put out the fires in my eyes so many times. to get them lit is not easy again. Do you realize how long it took human beings to understand what a campfire can do? It took a long time. You know how long it took for the match to be invented? A long time. What is that movie that came out when he was in a plane crash and landed on an island? Castaway. There's this movie called Castaway, and it took place presently, in this plane crashed and got lost in this island where there was nothing, just absolutely nothing. And luckily he had some means of how to start a fire, but it took him a while. And when you're cold and hungry and the rubbing the sticks don't work and they break and you get frustrated and you keep rubbing, nothing happens, you keep rubbing, nothing happens. And you said, oh my God, where are my matches? And rub and nothing happens. When the fire goes out, it's difficult. It's not worth it, people. It's not. It's not. It takes too long to rediscover fire. And if you find that the rages within you are too strong, and you're going for that bucket of water, steady, steady, steady. But if you put it out, realize you put out the fire yourself. Now, try to restart that wet campfire. And watch what happens. Watch how difficult it is to get the fire going again. If you did it, know that you did it, and watch the effects. Now you become an expert of putting out fires. And watch how it affects your life and affects the external environment.
I really had the experience that in the ashes, it's possible to do something new. So, and I really had this experience.
Yeah. Pardon?
I just said after fire,
Yeah.
I have a lot of ashes.
Yeah.
And in this ashes, there can do something new. And I really had these experiences too. What to do with this?
What to do with the ashes? I'm missing something. Say it in German. Say it in German.
No, I mean after I burned a big fire, forest fire or something like that. All the forest comes down.
Yeah.
It's totally destroyed, but something new can grow
Yes.
in the ashes.
Something
And
will always
I
new.
really had this experience.
Yeah.
And what to do with this?
What to do with?
With this, because you said don't enlighten any forest fire, but sometimes it has been necessary.
No. It's not necessary.
I had this.
When the forest fire comes in, and you did it, you think it was necessary, and it's not. It's because you did it, and you're always going to get a result. No matter what it is, it's always going to be, you can get 1,000,000 different results from it. Millions. But because you did it, the mind rationalizes, it was important that I did it because look at the result. But you could get 1,000,000 different ways. And if you didn't do it, I wonder what the results would be. You can rationalize it any way you want. Getting coldness, and what it can do. It's the damage, people. It is the damage. That's difficult. It takes time to clear up. It's the damage of it. Because the fire dance, there's speed in it. We're jumping around, we're breathing. Again, the iron horse is moving. And we've gotten somewhat used to it over the years with the dancing. And you've been instructed to sit and watch and observe. Watch and observe. Watch and observe. But it's still difficult to get the slow motion, what's really going on, because of the movements and the speed that is taking place. Now, as a result of technology, we purchased this camera and doing hours and hours. We're doing the whole tour with this to document this. But it's not necessarily to document the speeches, but what's most important is to document the fire dance, because who knows when that will stop. Anything can happen. And the beauty of the technology today is that we can slow it down so you can see what is going on and not going so fast. Because we are nothing but like two cars on an autobahn crossing each other. And we get used to looking, but you can't really see what's going on inside because we're all going too fast inside. So now we can see pretty much what's going on. And we're going to, after this tour, York is going to give us a long time to take a look to see what's going on with the fire. The fire itself is very, very, very soft. It's very soft. And to work with the fire, you've got to be very soft. Extremely soft. It's a dance. It's a relationship. It's a beautiful dance. We can be very graceful in water and even on the land. But because of ignorance and fear, we haven't learned to dance with fire. Okay. That's your investment. That's your investment. Good investment. The mind needs proof. The mind requires a great deal of proof before you let go. To let go to what? To what? The mind requires so much proof. Before it lets go. But to what? You saw how soft fire is. It's beautiful. When you don't fear it. But just understand it's of our heart. That's of our heart. Fire is the only element that is the door between matter and spirit. That's the only element we have that is the door. And that's why we talk about the sun so much. Dive into the water, it's not so bad. Dive into the fire, it's not so bad. And that fire is a little campfire that rests in your heart. Regardless of how terrible you are, how bad you are, or how good you are, or how wonderful you are. But always rest in your heart. And that is a gift to whatever created you. And no ocean of water can put it out. No corruption, no bad politician, no bad dream. Not murder, not kisses, no storms, no tornadoes, no beautiful days, no terrible music, no bad relationship, no dreamless nights can put it out. Know this of your heart. Know this of your heart. And this is what lies in all human beings' hearts, even the hearts of flies, frogs, alligators, sparrows, whales and little goldfish, little dogs and cats. And life will be different, will never be the same to you. Know this of your heart. No matter how foul your language, no matter how sensitive you are, no matter how kind you are, no matter how eloquent you may be, the fire is always lit. No death can take it away. No courts. No bad food. Not even a bad day can put it out. Rest. Learn to rest. Rest in that. Rest in that. Rest in it. Rest. Let yourself rest in that. Rest. Rest. Rest in it. Peace to your minds. Peace to your hearts. Peace. Peace. Everybody. Hey! Peace to your minds. Peace to your hearts. Peace. It's a beautiful thing to have your conscience in the front seat again. And being alone disappears. The word of being alone does not exist anymore. But if life can do that, that is so beautiful, what else can it do? What created the witness? What created the conscience? And what created you? Then one understands the neck, and every now and then turn around and look behind you and and look at your footprints. And that's your life. Your life is as beautiful as anybody else's life. Your life has as much value as anybody else's life. It's as colorful and exciting and adventuresome. And when you walk backwards enough, it leads you back to your heart. There's really nothing else. Life already is. You've already been born. It already is. Take a deep breath. To surrender, to relax, to say, I give up, let go. So many breaths, so many inhales, and so many exhales in between. So many pictures, so many people, so many sounds. Take a deep breath. What it is to keep my eyes closed is not to see you. What it is to shut down my hearing is not to hear you. What it is not to get out of bed, take, no more, let go. Life does nothing but give. It is us that takes and takes and takes, and too busy finding more things to take. When life is really nothing but a very quiet farmer that farms your next lifetime, farms the next day, farms the next moment, farms the next generation, very quietly, no matter who you are. Take a deep breath. We take from the corn, we take from the plants, we take from the trees. Let go. We even take during the day, we take as much as we can, see as much as we can. We travel to as many lands as much as we can. We go through clothes and shoes. You go through many toothbrushes. You go through combs and brushes. Take a deep breath. And yet it's so really simple. It's so very simple. Eventually we have to lie down, let go. Your life is the magic key. It is your own life that is really the magic key. But you have to care enough to love your own life. Take a deep breath. The most sacred prayer of all is not coming from a book. It's not coming from someone else's mouth. It is simply coming from your own heart. Let go. No one can take a deep breath but you. No one can inhale for you but you. Take a deep breath. And very quietly know these teachings. Very quietly know these teachings in your heart. Let go. Just a little bit every day. You have enough intelligence. You already know how to buy bread and milk at the store. That's all the intelligence you need. You know about working and washing clothes. You know about changing sheets. And sometimes shaking a hand. Take a deep breath. We are not on top of the food chain. Let go. But it may appear so, but that is not so. We're all still very, very fragile, very sensitive people. Take a deep breath. And how true it really is. The mind truly follows the breath. Let go. Truly. I'll take a break. Do we have heat? Or is it that we... There is heat. We just keep the windows open too long, huh? No, I think a lot of people are cold. It's a little cool in here. A little too cold. Can you start a forest fire? Let's go over the word conscience. Okay, it seems like there's a lot of misunderstanding with this word conscience. Probably most of us understand this word using the usage, I have a bad conscience. I did something wrong, so I have a bad conscience. I know I should have called you, and I have a bad conscience. I feel bad. Conscience, it is because the phenomenon of the conscience, you could say it's the conscience is of the Creator. It is not the Creator. It's not an entity. It is not a sentient being. It's almost like a camera that has blood in it, but it's not a sentient being. It has a force in it. There's a living force in it, but it's not an entity. Do you remember? So many young ones, the conscience it's so natural. And being that you've had it your whole life since, as far as you can remember, in the womb, you go into your second lifetime, and it's always there listening, but you don't pay any attention to it because you think everybody has it, but it's not a big deal. It's not something, it's just like there's a tree, there's a house, and there's my conscience. It's just there. And because logic and reason, logic and reason, people, is not an entity either. They're not entities, they're not sentient beings either. But they have their own body of thought. They have their own constructiveness of thought. And so therefore, it's almost like a vast library, and tapping into this library. It's like when you go into the web of the internet, and you go onto the web, and you can connect to this vast library throughout the world. And that is somewhat like the conscience of the world. You can tap into the conscience of a nation, how they generally feel, how they generally think, by how they vote. It's what is the conscience of a nation. Some families, they have the conscience of a family. They all work together. Some, there's none whatsoever. There's no conscience whatsoever. Everybody is for themselves. When logic and reason came in, and it works so well. It is designed so very well. And when all the adults totally support it, and they live in it, and they get by, they make the day, they do the day, they wake up in the morning, they make enough money, they take care of the bills, they can go down highways, they can go buy groceries and clothes. Hey, logic and reason works. And look, all these colors and advertisements and new toys and this, it works. It's wonderful. And when everybody supports it, it's wow. And the conscience, very quietly, subtly, starts to take that back seat. And that, too, has its own library of reserves, of books. Old books with a lot of wisdom in it. So the definition of conscience, it is the witness. It's very, very strong. You know, remember, I don't know if any of you, but I can remember when I stole things, you know, when I was younger, in drugstores, you know, go steal albums, you know, or something, and you know, just show that I can do it, you know, you know. But when you were to get caught, you know, all of a sudden this nasty feeling comes up, this nasty thought comes up, you know, and it's not on my side, huh? And it's not guilt, but it's I know I did wrong. But with logic and reason, and working with logic and reason for me, let me see, that was maybe 14, yeah, maybe 14, 15. And so 4, 7, I probably started losing my conscience about maybe 6, 7 years of age. Huh? And so here, logic and reason has been my passenger. And then all of a sudden, this getting caught. And then all of a sudden, this stranger from the back seat comes up. You know, because I'm caught. Somehow my feelings are opened up. And there it is. But my logic and reason now, I can feel the fight. I can feel the... and it's not the same voice. Yeah. But conscience is not to keep you in line. Your conscience is not designed to tell you when you're bad or when you're good at all. If the conscience has this vast reservoir of very old knowledge and has a voice to speak it, and if this conscience is a friend to console, and also to help with reason and logic, what is the best way. For instance, example people. The business world took off in the last 30 years. It just, and it seemed like everybody was following reason and logic, what everybody was taught in school. Profit, 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 profit. But all of a sudden, there's this new generation that came into the business world, made good money, and they said, wait a minute here. We understand what the profit is for, but let's make it for the green, you know, like the greenhouse or the green Democrats or the Republicans, and let's make profit on, instead of making like putting the money in tobacco, let's put it into something where it's good, where people think not money is going to be made because it's not for profit, but it's for culture. There's a goodness behind it in making these products. There's some wonderful, let's say, heartful business. And these various businessmen, their conscience, you could see, came in and used logic and reason. Used it to be smarter at it. That's what it's for. It's to be used and not to be identified with. And these beautiful businessmen knew that what matters, it's not the profit, but what is heartful, where the people have gained self-esteem, even though they're not making loads of money. But it's helping. It's bringing out goods and services, bringing other people out into the world, maybe not in suits, but their conscience came in. And it totally disturbed the business community, totally disturbed it, because it's not totally identified with reason and logic. They're speaking different words, more of a heartful intent, thinking of the people and not just what's the product, what's the end product. And this new language that they brought into the business world was quite shocking, but they found out they never expected it to work. Nobody did. But people watched it and watched it worked. And it works. And it works. But without the greed. You're doing it for humanity, and that's the conscience. That's the difference.
Is conscience for relatedness?
Relatedness. It is relatedness. Conscience is relatedness. It is relatedness. It is total relatedness. Total. Yes.
Does it have a presence?
Does it have a presence? It seems that it does, but it's not a presence. It seems that it does, but it's not a presence. It seems to be, but it's not. It's very much like what happened here early this morning. Because the attention is so strong, and there's quietness, and there's very little movement of your bodies and all. It builds a kind of a tension, it's a relatedness that's going on, isn't it? There's a real personal relatedness. It's a very, very personal, extremely personal with this. And that's what the conscience is. It's very personal. Extremely personal. Extremely personal. Because it's of your essence. It's of your essence. Yes. Is there a connection between conscience and innocence? Yes. Conscience is very, you could say, it has the elements of innocence. Yes. Yes, it does. And as when conscience starts to come more into the front seat, innocence all of a sudden begins to show its face on your face. Because then the humbleness comes back in. It is not the innocent. It's not the element of innocence itself. No, but it starts to activate the element of innocence. Yeah. It's very much when a person passes away, the conscience starts to come back very quickly. You can see that when people die alive. When people die dead, the conscience does not come forward. When people die alive, the conscience comes forward. And no matter what their disposition was earlier, no matter what their attitude was earlier, at the very end, all of a sudden they've changed. Because the logic and reason can't hold. Logic and reason is earthbound. It's totally earthbound. And when the elements within the spirit starts to show its face away from the physical body, the heavy elements, logic and reason are heavy elements, they're like lead. Conscience is lighter than a cloud. It's lighter than air. It's lighter than helium. It's very, very light. And the closer you get to death, the lighter you get. They naturally exchange seats. And then all of a sudden, there is the compassion. They changed. And it's just because it's back to normal. Nothing unusual, just back more to normal. Then it's easier to express in this state of passing away. It's easier to be in this state. Now it becomes easy. Whereas before, I couldn't do it, I couldn't say it, because the heavy elements are there. The heavy elements of logic and reason are still in the front seat. Yes. Every individual have their own unique wisdom. It doesn't mean, in essence, but there's various layers. It's how far away from the Berlin Wall is the so-called wisdom. For some people, their wisdom only is 2 or 3 meters away from the wall. For some, it's a nation. For some, it only covers 1 hectare. So it all depends on the depth and the expansion of one's mind and one's heart. So goes the wisdom. It's a knowingness. That is a knowingness. Where the child can't name, it is a knowing. The child's know. They just, it's of course, but it's so natural. It's of course, but they can't name it. Sometimes it's a playmate, and it becomes a real playmate. They're not imagining things. It's their conscience, because they easily hear it, easily communicate with it. They're not hearing voices, but they are. Huh? Yeah. Logic and reason, what is the voice of logic and reason inside our heads? It is more thought-oriented. It is more thought substance. It's really, it's beautiful to use. In essence, know what a bank is for, people. Good logic and reason. It helps. It really does help. Trust me on that one, Swiss. Right.
Is conscience an aspect of the spirit?
Is conscience an aspect of the spirit? No. No. Yeah.
It was saying to me, Franz, your heart is undernourished.
Yeah.
And my logic came in and said, no, I'm taking care and trying. And he just said again, it was like you speaking, your heart is undernourished. What is it?
It could have been your conscience, and it could have been your own spirit. I don't know, because they both can speak. I don't know. When the Spirit speaks to you in an altered state, you will hear it like under a bell, a big bell. It's like you're in the bell, in a bell, ding, That's what it sounds like. In a conscience, it's not in a bell. So there's more like an echo with the Spirit when it speaks. It's not a typical voice. It's not a typical environment. Conscience is more natural, more natural environment within the mind, within how the mind hears, with how you hear. It's a voice, yeah. They both have very clear, distinct voices, but the environment is different. There was someone, was a young girl. Yes, did you have it? Does conscience go together with intuition? Okay, this is what, throughout the years, I tell people that intuition is wonderful when it works. And they always ignore it when it doesn't. Okay. It doesn't, that means you didn't use your intuition. Okay. Okay. So I tell people all you're doing is gambling. If you're using intuition, you're just doing nothing but gambling. Sometimes you get a lucky 7, sometimes you don't. But people play with it, and it's really funny when they get the number that they want or expect, it's like, God, my intuition's great. But when it doesn't work, God, my intuition is great. Okay. So, and because it's so natural to do this, I tell people, drop it. Just drop your intuition. You're gambling. You might as well go to Las Vegas with all your Swiss money and go gamble at Monaco. Huh? Most of you are going to lose. You will lose. The odds will go against you. To work this correctly, to really get with what the conscience, how it really operates, stop all that and get to know what you really know and know it well. Know what you know and know it well. Know what you don't know and know it well. Feelings too. Gambling. Huh? There's a difference. Don't gamble or go to Monaco and see what happens. Or, my intuition's great. My intuition's wonderful. My intuition is wonderful. Okay? Comprende? Very simple. Okay? And you'll find yourself, you're getting your mind straighter and straighter and straighter, and realize it's okay not to know, because there's a small little discrepancy in our behavior. When people pretend to know, or they have they caught in a habit of they're supposed to know, and then they pretend to know, and because they're supposed to know, but they really don't know. Then, when they come to somebody who doesn't know, they become critical at them because they don't know. Or they become short with their feelings. Or they become, there's no patience with people who don't know. That's because you're supposed to know, and you know, but you don't know. So you hide it by getting angry and getting short with people when they make a mistake and don't know. See what I mean? It's a little complex, isn't it? That's why if you get it straight with yourself and you be okay with yourself, and because we all make mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes, people. I make a lot of mistakes, but I'm totally okay with it. Really? You know? Right? Then, when I see someone who makes mistakes, hey, it's okay. It's okay. I make them too. It's okay. Want to see my scars? I got another one. Another one here, another one here. I got another one right there, you know. I got another one here. I got about 3 or 4 in my back, you know. I got one in my yeah. Okay. Do you want to see the movie tonight? It'd be best to show that it's a 2.5-hour movie at night, not during the day. It's better, huh? Yeah, okay. What time tonight? 8? 8. Okay, how many for 8? Raise your hand. 8 o'clock to watch the movie. It's not this is a documentary. It's not this movie, this director from France, from where? Holland. Oh, excuse me, from Holland, has been making documentaries. And then he found out he had prostate cancer and that is dying. So he decided in the last part of his life, him and his wife went and traveled the world with a camera to go view the world through the camera's eyes of how he sees the world. So he left and he came back and died shortly thereafter. And his other films that were documentary films were more of a mind-oriented, like most of us are, you know. But because the cancer came in, this is the beauty. And because a death sentence has been put on this human being, it changed his perspective. It changed the way he's going to look at this world through different eyes, more honesty, more like these businessmen of doing it with their conscience. He started to do this because of his conscience and not logic and reason. And because his conscience came in, because under the fact we're going to see the effects, we will benefit from this because you're going to see it more of his conscience. Okay? 8:30. Those who want to see the movie at 8:30. This is a democracy. You don't forget it. Just okay. 7:30. It's 8 o'clock.